Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Coffee wasn't very strong then. So my name is James Welshman. I work for Chevron and I look after the marketing for Europe, Middle East and Africa. And I'm looking forward to speaking to you about the experience that we've had in implementing digital and becoming a customer-centric company. So behind every interaction, device and product purchase is a customer. We're truly living in the age of the customer, where each touch point is connected, intelligent and visible. In the time it's taken me to walk up here to the stage and begin my speech, 5 million of the 8 billion daily YouTube views have taken place. 40 million messages have been sent by WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger, of the 60 billion sent a day. Now, others in this room may have come across slightly different or more recent numbers, but as my 9-year-old would say, that is sick. And that's apparently translated as being really amazing or awesome. To be closely engaged with that connected customer, businesses like ours first need to put the customer at the center of everything we do. And secondly, business need to have a single view of that customer across all touch points. However, we all know that this is much easier said than done, and that on average, only about 1% of the data generated is being actively harnessed by companies as insights for future opportunity. In the next 15 minutes or so, I plan to discuss how, as a result of the global financial crisis and the then lower for longer oil price, the downstream and chemicals business at Chevron has been forced to transform itself into one which uses digital technology and data at its core in order to grow shareholder value. I will share certain learnings, insights from our journey to developing a single, visible customer platform, and specifically how we've begun to use technology to drive efficiency and effectiveness in our company and its engagements with customers and between internal functions. I stand here representing Chevron, one of a couple of energy companies invited to join you today. While much sets the companies in the industry apart, many challenges we share. Through our branded offerings, we serve customers around the world with fuels, lubricants, chemicals, coolants, additives, entailing the manufacture and marketing of literally thousands of products and designed for hundreds and hundreds of customer segments. Now, targeting, engaging and serving this client base has historically been highly resource intensive and fraught with complexity and a lot of cost, with downstream cutbacks and diminishing returns having been reported very widely across our industry. We've had to transform our business to become more effective, efficient, and engaging. Harnessing digital technology alongside our core strength in molecular technology has been a conduit to continued profitable growth. Price competition in any industry limits available resources, and Chevron has taken on this challenge and implemented technology to help streamline the sales and marketing effort, getting more done with the same or fewer human resources. Transformation in sales and marketing has been the catalyst for digital to spread to other parts of the business, shifting the business into a digital-first organization, a single customer view from one integrated platform. Now, having taken a look at the attendees out there and knowing who else is speaking to you today, I'm under no illusions that there are other far better qualified people to define what the age of the customer really is than me. But I'll share something I've borrowed from a blog, a Salesforce blog you may be familiar with, which says, new technologies have put the customer in the driving seat of the marketplace, giving them power over who sinks or swims in the digital age. To be honest, I haven't really given a lot of thought on that definition. What I'm trying to do is develop an answer to address the question, how on earth do we connect with these empowered customers? And how do we connect ourselves to be able to build a repeatedly delivered value proposition? Now, assuming for the moment we know who our customer is, and we always need to know more about these customers, what has changed so dramatically these past 5 years or so? I'll come to that in just a moment, but what has not changed, in our view, is that a value proposition that is relevant, trustworthy, and engaging remains the ticket to the dance. Since time immemorial, successful brands have had to appeal, but that's just not enough anymore. Brands have to engage, and today's customers have the means and demeanor to make their demands very much known. So much focus has really been placed on the digital arena that I come across countless examples, as I'm sure you do, of where confusion exists in the digital space, where digital is seen as the end in itself, as opposed to the technology being used as an enabler to the successful implementation of that value proposition. One small example would be where a colleague of mine who's running a business for us in the Middle East decried a lack of having a social media platform up and running in his market, feeling he was being left behind without one. He kind of had his hands up, he was in panic. But a social media platform, as I'm sure most of you know or feel, a social media program that stands alone is really no program at all, but one that executes the brand and marketing objective and integrates with other digital and traditional media is the key. I resist reversing in solutions just because they feel like it's what other people are doing. Now, customers are telling us, either directly or through their digital body language, that they expect immediate, personalized, persistent, consistent, and personalized and preemptive interactions with us and our brands. Understanding this takes us a long way to being able to deliver a customer-centric company. So I'm going to break these down in turn. Immediate and always on. I learned from Brandwatch that 78% of people who complain on Twitter about a brand expect response within an hour. Data suggests that B2B customers are no less patient when it comes to wanting a response. And a clear majority of business purchasers and consumers share the single most important tool of trade that there is at home and at work, the mobile phone. The internet was the enabler of change, but the smartphone has been the real driver. People are bringing their technology-minded expectations to the office, and the concept that Google introduced of micro moments related to any buyer, whether B2B or B2C. How does a business resource expectations for what Google is calling right here and right now moments? Well, what are we doing? For some time, we've ensured that all our websites were fit for mobile users, and more recently, we've looked at ways we can collaborate with our channel away from email and in real time. The chatter function in Chevron's sales pipeline portal has now impressive adoption with thousands of distributors and thousands of Chevron personnel connected. Influence is rated, and feedback and coaching is now given. The platform is both desktop and mobile-based, and our sales teams and customer service colleagues use it to respond to technical questions, negotiation tactics, and advice. Data is permanently stored, and next steps recorded for follow-up in sales coaching calls, which we all love. Personalized. My earlier comment on smartphones suggested that B2B and B2C consumers have a lot in common when it comes to their expectations of immediate response. That's not to say the lines have blurred between these two groups at Chevron. We also understand their unique needs, including those of our JV partners, our distributors, our dealers, and our direct served accounts. What all these audiences want is personalized interaction and engagement. They want to be heard, understood, and given that justification for being loyal. So what are we doing? Well, every company represented in this room has been sending computer-generated communications for years, with mail merge appearing as the preferred communication route in 1980, when quite a number of people in this room weren't even born. Whilst e-marketing has come a long way in this time, with platforms like Marketo adding significant value to our business at least, there is so much more involved than just this. We've found that designing customer journeys for our outside lead generation campaigns, taking real-time feedback and adjusting them allows us to redefine our messaging without the need for research projects that kind of miss that moment in time. Web personalization and the use of online tools, calculators, video specifics for the customer segment provide high returns and generate positive satisfaction ratings for customers. Now, Keith Weed, who's the CMO of Unilever, is quoted as saying that with data, marketing is magic with logic, art plus science. Now, never before have marketers ever had the logic side of the equation to use that data provides. Could this go to some way to healing all the scars that we've got as marketers and we've endured for years when trying to answer these questions or when these are shouted at you from across the meeting room? What value is marketing bringing to the business? What contribution of growth have you achieved? Now, we recognize that the more we invest in understanding our customer using insights from our CRM platform, the higher levels of engagement we've got. Gone are the days that only marketers market and salespeople sell. In our business, our sales teams have got the ability to communicate on a segment of one basis using professionally developed but editable suite of tools and materials. And as such, our click-to-open ratio at Chevron is well above industry average. Consistent. The departmental, functional, and divisional silos within firms are very challenging. Well, they're challenging enough. And that's when we're actually working inside the company together, inside those walls. Customers have had to put up with inconsistent, neglectful, and wooden customer service that differed from person to person for years. You must have spoken to one of my colleagues. Yes, I'm afraid we don't have any record of that. Or, it does say that on our website, but that was last week, and that promotion's not really running anymore. People just don't have to put up with that kind of stuff anymore. Putting the customer at the center of the business means orienting the organization to, for example, picking up where we left off from the previous transaction and interaction and making history visible to all. What about Chevron? What are we doing? Now, I have a brother-in-law whose career journey took him via a pretty senior C-suite level position at the Mirror Group some years ago. Now, the stories from their daily 11 a.m. editorial meeting were mind-boggling, as you can imagine. Our periodic editorial meetings are somewhat less sensational, but they are important nonetheless. Our objectives are to ensure that our website, social, traditional, PR, and extranet messaging is fresh, engaging, and aligned to strategy, most importantly. But in the context of customers' demands, it is as important that in the editorial meeting, each one of these messages is checked for consistency across the platforms as well as its content. Beyond this, we've invested in an e-commerce cloud platform for our customer service division, which allows us to visualize order history, current orders, and future sales opportunities, all in conjunction. Whether in sales or marketing or customer service, you can now give the customer a consistent, fluent, and data-oriented experience using the same tools in real time. Preemptive. The sales colleagues at Chevron will always tell you that they pride themselves on researching the customer to the extent that they know exactly what the customer's thinking or what exactly the customer needs. True in some cases where a genuine challenger sales rep exists, but invariably not in most. Now, no, that's not spoken like a true sales and marketing integrator. Even if this were the case, there's simply not a social media program resource to cover the ground to this extent, nor the time investment required. However, what is now abundantly clear is that the customers do expect our businesses to achieve this. Customers expect their needs, or I call demands, to be anticipated. If you aren't, someone else is. The cost to switch is getting lower and lower, and the appetite and ease are increasing. Earlier I stated that having a value proposition that is relevant, trustworthy, and engaging remains a ticket to the dance. As well as investments in digital platforms to improve our sales process efficiency, we're also investing in the effectiveness of our people as experts in their field to deliver the value proposition consistently and accurately. Segment expertise is increasingly necessary in order to provide a tailored and consultative selling process, or rather buying process, for the customer. So too, our customer service teams are upskilled to understand the relevance and application of real-time customer data in order to highlight opportunities to their account manager counterpart or directly to the customer themselves. Now, this is all very well, but companies like ours, which have been termed integrated energy companies, have operated in anything but that fashion. Historically, companies have spawned uniquely crafted and individually led projects to address each of these new customer requirements. We're all in organizations, or have been part of them, which instigate major new initiatives year after year, but fail to aggregate these into a cohesive transformation of the business to deliver any result. there's often a lack of real alignment across the functions, the workforce, and alignment across the tactics. Many of us would have to admit that programs that turned out that we've been in charge of programs that turned out to compete with other functions, either on basic principles or more likely for the same resources, and we didn't hit the target. So our greatest challenge at business is to connect the enterprise within itself. And the rewards in doing so are very material, I think. From years of strategy mapping, courtesy of Kaplan and Norton and others, we know that there are material impacts to the bottom line from orienting all the human, informational, and organizational capital. What we've done in recent years is to pull together a common platform at Chevron for what would otherwise be unique solutions to unique issues that have been raised. We've pulled together our picture of the customer into a single 360-degree view. The transparency now provided by a single digital platform, which aggregates informational capital, is, I think, a huge competitive advantage. Encompassing these items, the single platform connects the enterprise, allowing it to truly connect with the customer. Past, current, and future sales pipeline, customer feedback, orders, and campaign performance are examples of how we can see all these things at the same time. The value proposition is to offer customers and channel partners what we call one pane of glass through which to connect with us and us with them. Not only must companies integrate their systems and platforms, but they must either build, hire, or buy in the capabilities to enable ongoing delivery of the proposition and enable continuous improvement. Now, as an example, we've restructured our sales and marketing teams to include sales ops specialists, sales operations specialists, marketing ops expertise, to sit in between our sales and marketing teams, and these roles have a defined purpose for, amongst other things, integration of lead generation, sales process slippage, campaign lookbacks, and digital KPI measurement. They also drive the different functions to operate some of our processes in parallel to secure a decent baton handover. For those of you who've already got marketing ops and sales ops in your organizations, you'll know the kind of look you got when you went to try and seek approval for additional headcount. What are these roles? But they've added real value for us in our desire to integrate marketing and sales. Leadership. Leadership accountability has been a key part of the Chevron way for many, many years. And as with all other organizations and change management initiatives, the challenge here is that leaders be willing to take accountability for concepts that are outside their comfort zone, particularly in what is a pretty conservative environment that I work in, and when the annual P&L is always at stake. Refiners, traders, financial accountants, engineers, they find it much more palatable to take accountability for areas that their career has been built on to date, and only a handful would realistically be able to point to experience in that area of digital technology. But many more would show a bias towards an engineering solution, or certainly a traditional one at least. Selling in the need and getting buy-in for real transformation into a customer-centric company requires education, fortitude, and the finding of shared ground with others, identifying the source of competitive advantage that'll be at the end of it, that'll guide the operation in the coming years. Now, I said earlier that digital is the catalyst for transformation and an enabler for the value proposition. Ultimately, how this is executed and connected within the company determines if it just doesn't underpin the CVP, but actually is the differentiator within it. Now, how is Chevron viewing the future? Of the areas so far discussed, particular focus is on using external data to predict future trends and machine learning, AI, to further streamline processes and speed up customer response. Now, these assistants can identify the leads most likely to convert before handing them off to our sales team. This goes beyond the algorithm-based lead scoring we currently use to deliver marketing qualified leads and moves us into a completely new era where AI is working alongside sales, blurring the lines between marketing technology and sales enablement. So I hope I've been able to offer at least some learnings and some insights from an organisation which will never claim to be at the vanguard of the digital age by any stretch, but is continuing to implement the required transformational steps to grow. And before I hand over to our next speaker, I'll leave you with this. We have much to learn. To succeed, one has got to have the right mindset and be open-minded. For example, we really must be able to look at articles like this on the Evening Standard on the way home on the tube and not just say, nice idea, but it'll never happen. Thank you.